Good morning, respected faculty members, fellow scholars, participants, students, and everyone present here. I warmly welcome you all to the fourth session of the six-day online advanced research methodology workshop organized by the Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Mizoram University, in collaboration with the DST-funded Technology Enabling Centre, TEC, Mizoram University. The topics for today's sessions are identifying the knowledge structure and hands-on Lab 2 VOSV1 network mapping. I am Mike Oma, a research scholar from the Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Mizoram University, and I will be coordinating today's sessions. Before we begin, I would like to request all participants to kindly keep their microphones muted during the session to avoid any disturbances. Any questions or discussions may be taken up through the chat box or by using the raise hand option. It is now my privilege to introduce our resource person for today's session, Professor L.S. Sharma, a professor in the Department of Management, Mizoram University. Professor Sharma brings with him 25 years of teaching experience, including 5 years at the undergraduate level and 20 years at the postgraduate level. He has served at Uttar Pradesh Technical University, Lucknow, Royal University of Bhutan, and Mizoram University. At Mizoram University, he has held several important academic and administrative positions, including head of the Department of Management, director of the Career Counseling Cell, and director of the Equal Opportunities Cell. He currently serves as a member of the Academic Council and several school boards and boards of studies of the university. Professor Sharma has supervised 14 scholars who has been awarded PhDs, with another 8 currently continuing their doctoral research under his supervision. He has also guided postdoctoral research. He has authored more than 15 books and book chapters and published more than 77 research papers in national and international journals. He has also participated in more than 80 conferences and seminars and delivered over 100 lectures through FDPs and UGC HRDC programs. He was also the recipient of the National B School Award 2013 for Best Professor in Teaching Marketing Management. With his extensive academic experience and expertise in areas including information technology and operations research, we are particularly pleased to have him with us for today's session on identifying knowledge structures and using VOS Viewer for network mapping. Sir, we are delighted to have you with us, and we look forward to an insightful and engaging session. On behalf of the Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management and all the participants, I extend a very warm welcome to you, Professor Sharma. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for that extensive introduction. What I'm planning to share today is something, a little bit of theory and more of practical. So if most of the participants wants to do some of this practical along with me, you can do so, but it will be better if you are using a laptop instead of a mobile phone. So if you want, you can switch over to laptop and do along the exercises with me. Okay, so thank you once again, and welcome and good morning to all the participants. Let me share my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's visible.
But I think it's coming out in a different kind of way. Okay, let me see. Right. Is it visible in full screen?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. All right. So some of the the early portion, let me go into a little bit into this knowledge structure, introduction of this knowledge structure. Then I'll go into the WASP viewer. Okay. As introduced, my name is Professor L.S. Sharma. I'm from Department of Management, Mizoram University. So in this session, I'll try to go into these aspects. The first one is that I'll try to look into what is knowledge structure. Second is, why do we need to map this knowledge structure? What are the foundational assumptions? The third aspect is that we'll look into the 4 families of mapping techniques. Then we also look into some of the techniques which are being used. That is like the co-citation analysis, bibliographic coupling, and the next one is the co-word and the keyword co-occurrences, and of course, the 7th one is the co-authorship analysis. And finally, we look into the comparison of these tools and what are the takeaways from this. Okay, so these are the things that I'll try to cover in this session. Okay, so first of all, let's look into what is this knowledge structure. Okay, when we write any research paper, one of the important things that we do is what we call as the literature review, right? So in the literature review, we try to look into what some of the authors has come about, what are the concepts that has come about, and so on. And from that, we try to come out what we call as the knowledge gap, right? So we're trying to look into the structure of this knowledge, and the structure of this knowledge is nothing but the pattern of relationship. The pattern of relationship, say for example, like the ideas or what are the papers that has been written over the period of time, how the authors have come up with these concepts. Okay, so in this body of academic knowledge, how this relationship has come about. Okay, so for example, if I take the example of something like job satisfaction, how was job satisfaction being defined during the industrial period, when the industrial revolution was there? Then over the period, what happened after the Second World War or the First World War? Then what happens in the when the new generation has come in? So the concept keeps on evolving. Okay, so this pattern of relationship we are trying to look in from several documents. Okay, it's not from a single document, but from several documents, how they are interconnected. Okay, then we also try to look into some of their subfields. Okay, subfields mean, say for example, job satisfaction, maybe in terms of maybe what are the things that are involved in the job satisfaction. Okay, so some of the specialties of these variables, what are the schools of thoughts that has come over, what are their boundaries, and whether some of the studies has gone over these boundaries. Okay, so that kind of relationships we try to look into. Okay, then we also try to look into like how the scholars are citing one another, or how they are doing co-citing, how the terms are being used. Okay, so and how they are collaborating in terms of maybe the country wise, maybe in terms of discipline wise. Okay, so we try to look into from that perspective also. Then we also try to look into the methods which are being used, what kind of bibliometric methods which are being used, what are the things that we can see, what can be measured, and what can be mapped into. Okay, and how this knowledge structure they complement and to one another. Okay, and we also try to examine what are the qualitative literature reviews that can be done by using these knowledge structures. Okay, so what is the guiding metaphor for this knowledge structure? You can take it as an example of this research field as a kind of a constellation, okay, where you have these individual papers like small stars out there. And these bibliometric links are the lines which helps you to connect into these constellations and try to look into in the form of clusters, what are the links, what are the outliers, and so on. Okay, it's like say for example, when we talk about the Earth, it is a part of what you call galaxy called Milky Way. So in that, how many stars are being linked into one another and so on. Okay. And what are the units of analysis that we'll be going into? We'll be looking into from the perspective of units like documents, units like authors, the journals, what are the keywords which are being used, which institutions are involved, which countries are involved. Okay, so these are some of the units that we will be looking into. Okay. Second is, why do we need to map this knowledge structure? Okay, we need to map uh, this knowledge structure because one is that we want to identify uh, where is the intellectual base coming from. Okay, and from where it has come and what is the current research fronts now. Okay, so when you have a database, when you have a large amount of data out there, uh, the academic knowledge database, we are able to bring out from where it has come up to and what is the current situation now. Okay. Then we also, it allows you to come out with certain emerging themes. Okay. What are the themes which are going on now? Okay. Then what themes has been dropped over the period of time? Okay. What are the structural gaps which are available? Okay. So it also helps you to bring out your knowledge gap out here. Okay. Then the process, how it is being done, the process, how it is being done shows that it is a kind of a systematic way. There is a logical structure that is being followed. Okay. And when you do a logical structure, what happens is that you can able to emulate and reproduce the work that has been done. It may not be 100% similar, but more or less it will able to replicate to some extent. And that structure is what we call as the scientific method. Okay. Then of course, we also try to look into what kind of collaborations are taking place among the authors. Okay, so it brings you out the pattern of collaborations within the units like authors, institutions, and countries. Okay. Of course, there are certain assumptions out here. One of the assumptions is that when we have a citation, as I generally say, is a kind of a reward which is being given to an intellectual work. Okay, so a citation, when we look into citation, it's a kind of a intellectual or cognitive link which is given between the works. Okay, and it is given the assumptions that that work has been acknowledged. Okay. The second is in terms of the references which are being used. Okay, the shared references, the terms which are being used, then the co-citation which is being used out there. So all this also brings about the closeness of the topic or the relatedness of the topic. Okay. Say, for example, if I later on I'll be coming about certain examples and how the terms are being used out there. Okay. Then the third assumption is that by combining all this, aggregating all these links, okay, it brings you a kind of a corpus. It brings you a kind of a group where it shows what kind of patterns are coming out from this. Okay, and these patterns, again, you can see the closeness or what we call in terms of density or in terms of the relativeness of one another. So you're able to bring out certain themes out of this. Okay, but there is also a caveat in this knowledge structure. Um, Whatever that we are doing out here, all these citations and so on, we have given a certain kind of an assumption that they all are of equal intellectual weight. But the reality is that sometimes the citation may be given in order to criticize a certain theme or in order to criticize a certain process and so on. So it's not a uh, perfect kind of method. Okay, so therefore you should use this with a pinch of salt also. Now, I also told you about that I'm going to cover something called the 4 families of mapping techniques. Okay, there are 4 main areas there where we do this, what do you call, the knowledge structure. The first one is what we call is the core citation. Co-citation is where two documents both are cited by another third party, by a third document, okay? It's what we call as the co-citation. Okay, two documents both cited by a later, what we call as a third document. Okay, then you have something called the bibliographic coupling. That is where you have two documents both cited or shared in an earlier document. Okay, we'll come into the examples of this later on. Then the third one is what we call as the co-word or the keyword co-occurrences. Okay, you have a certain terminology, you have certain terms appearing in several documents. So the definition that I've given here is a simple one: two terms appearing together in the same documents. Okay, so the document, there is one particular term that you're using which may have been used in other documents also. Okay, say for example, job satisfaction is being used as job satisfaction in another. Somebody might be using in a slightly different, in a variant manner. Okay, and of course the fourth one is co-authorship. That is where two authors are appearing together on the same document. Okay, the document in one document where these two authors are being used in the same document. So these are the four areas where most of the work of knowledge network, knowledge structure is being done. So co-citation, bibliographic coupling, keyword co-occurrences or the co-word co-occurrences, or you have the co-authorship. Okay. Now let's look into this in detail. What is this co-citation analysis? Okay. By definition, what it says is that two documents, you have document A and B. This A and B are co-cited when a later, that is a third document, cites both document A and B together. Okay, document C is citing both A and B together. Okay, so the more these two pairs are being cited, the stronger this links becomes. Okay, so it is, what it's trying to reveal is that you have the intellectual base which is being foundational out there, A and B. This is being frequently referenced. Okay, then it also affects into the clusters. The clusters become the specialties. The specialties means where you have the certain individual, invisible, the group. Okay, so within a discipline, you have a certain structure coming out. Okay, and one aspect of this is that it's a backward-looking view. That is, the structure is seen through a citing behavior, how people have cited these papers. Okay, so co-citation analysis look into how it has been cited. Okay, then you have the bibliographic coupling out here. Okay, the bibliographic coupling here, by definition, it means that two documents, that is A and B, are bibliographically coupled when they both cite one or more of the same earlier references. Okay, they have a certain reference which they have cited earlier, which is again being cited. Okay, so the coupling strength is what we call as the number of shared references, how many times it has been shared. Okay, so what it tries to reveal is that it looks into the current research fronts. When you look into the bibliographic coupling, we are looking into things like what are the current things that is going on now. Okay, what are the current themes coming out? What are the current researches that is going on? Okay, it also reveals a kind of a static link. Okay, this reference list do not change. Once it's being published, the reference links, they remain more or less the same. Okay, and this is a forward looking. Okay, it's not like the co-citations backward looking. You're looking into forward. From here, where can I take up into? Okay, so you have co-citation and bibliographic coupling. So let us compare these two. Okay, you have co-citation where the paper is cited from both A and B, but in bibliographic coupling, you have A and B citing an earlier paper. Okay, in terms of direction of view, co-citation, we are looking into backward, but if you're looking in terms of bibliographic coupling, we're looking into forward. Okay. Then in terms of stability, co-citation grows as new citing papers appears. Okay. But bibliographic coupling, it remains fixed once A and B has published these papers. Okay. And what is best suited for co-citation is generally good for looking into the foundations. So for example, I want to look into the foundations of how advertising has been defined over the period of time and so on. Okay. Then for bibliographic coupling is good for looking into the emerging research fronts. Okay. Or what is the current fronts, research areas that is going on. Okay. So co-citation is good for looking into like the schools of thoughts over the period of time. Okay. And bibliographic coupling, we're trying to look into what is the fast moving frontier right now. Okay. So these are the two areas that look into. Okay. Now let's look into the third and the fourth one. The third one is the keyword co-occurrences. Okay. I generally use the term keyword co-occurrences. Of course, the other word that is being used is the co-word. Okay. Two keyword or terms co-occur when they appear together in the same document. Okay, that means you have a certain keywords when it appears in the title, when it appears in the abstract or in the author's keywords, there are certain co-occurrences that occurs out there. Okay, what we call as the how many times it occurs, the frequency of co-occurrences, that gives the conceptual proximity, how related it is. Okay. Now, what it reveals out here? It reveals that how the topic is or the content is in the field, how it is being doing out there. Okay. Then it also brings about some of the clusters of the theme. Okay, the thematic clusters, how these clusters have traveled over the period of time. Okay, and it also works directly into the document. Okay, so here no citation is required. So this basically grips into the keyword co-occurrences. I feel that while using WASP viewer, the keyword co-occurrences plays a very important role out there. Okay. Then in terms of authorship analysis, we have something called a co-authorship analysis. This looks into how the authors are linked into one another. Okay. As the link becomes more stronger as the number of shared publications increases. Okay, so it looks into the kind of the collaboration work, not in terms of the intellectual context. Then it also looks into who are the research groups, who are these authors who are good for this particular topic or particular theme. Okay, then it also looks into which countries are doing work on this. Then which institutions are highly involved in these activities. Okay, so it brings you several contents out here. Okay, so you have these 4 different techniques out here. So you have co-citation, bibliographic coupling, co-word, and keyword, and co-authorship. Okay. If you look into the unit of analysis, in co-citation, we look into the cited references. If you're looking for bibliographic, we're looking into the documents, how the documents has been cited, the paper has been cited. Okay, then if you're looking into the keyword, you're looking into certain terms from the abstract, or maybe the keywords from the keywords that is being defined. Okay, then you have co-authorship. Co-authorship is how the authors are being related to one another, the institutions are being related into one another. Okay, and in terms of the structures which are being revealed is that if you look into the co-citation, it brings you the foundations or the intellectual base. If you're looking for the bibliographic coupling, you're looking into the research fronts that is going on now. If you're looking into the keyword, you're looking into the conceptual aspect of the keyword, or you're looking into the theme of that particular topic. And if you're looking into the co-authorship, you're looking into the social interaction as well as the collaboration of the institutions or the countries and the authors and so on. Okay. If you're looking in terms of time orientation, co-citation, we're looking into the back. And if you're doing the bibliographic coupling, you're looking into the forward. okay, or the current situation now. Keyword and coword gives you the snapshot of what is the content doing now, and co-authorship look into the picture of the relationship between the authors and so on. Okay, so these are the 4 aspects. But these 4 aspects, how do we look into? Okay, in order to look into this knowledge structure, there is a process. The process is, the first one is that you have to collect the data. How do you collect the data? We collect the data from the records from academic database like Scopus, Web of Science or Dimension, or several other sources. Okay. Second is, then we construct. What do we construct? We build a network. We build a network in terms of co-citation. We build a network in terms of coupling, in terms of keyword or coword, or in terms of co-authorship and so on. Okay, so we construct in terms of those 4 bases. Okay, then we look into the clusters. Okay, we try to find the clusters. We group these nodes by using certain community detection or clustering algorithm. We use certain algorithm to group them and look into this. Okay, then we visualize the data. We render the network map. Okay, we look into the node size. What is a node? I'll be telling you later on. What are the colors that they carry on, and what is the distance out there, and what is the meaning of those things. Okay, and finally, we interpret those data in the form of what is this level of these clusters. We try to identify the teams, and we try to look into these hubs out there and what are the structural gaps out there. So this whole process is being done by using certain tools. Okay, these tools are which we are using are, one is very much of a free software called a WASP Viewer. Okay. Apart from this, we also have something called a site space. And if you are using our software, you have the bibliometrics. Okay. And there is also another software called Gephi. Okay. What I'll be doing today is I'll be using the WASP Viewer. Okay. This is where I'll try to cover about the WASP Viewer. The WASP Viewer, what it does is that we will visualize this network. We try to look for coword, co-citation, and co-authorship maps. Okay, all this software has certain advantages and certain disadvantages. Some things WASP Viewer is very good. Some things bibliometrics is very good. So I cannot say that one software is the best. Okay. Apart from this, you also can use spreadsheets to enhance your analysis and so on. Okay. So as I've said, what we'll be using in this WASP Viewer, one is what we call as the node size. The node size is the unit which is being represented out here. Okay, the unit which is being represented in the form of the size represents the node. Okay, and it may be represented in the form of frequency, how big, how large is the frequency, how much is the citation count, what is the occurrence, and so on. So as the size becomes bigger, it becomes more prominent, and it's given by the weight which is given out there. Okay, color again identifies the cluster membership. Okay, the color, node color will tell you in which team or in which group does it belong to. Okay, then there is a distance which is being shown that shows the relativeness. Okay, the relativeness of these nodes. Okay, then the edge thickness, the node's boundary, how thick is it? So that also gives you the link strength out there. Okay, then the cluster position, where is it? Is it in the center or is it in the core? Whether it's on the side, and how these nodes are being connected into one another. So this gives you some of the
Sir,
bibliographic
the slide is not visible, sir.
slide is not visible.
Yeah, it's visible, sir. It's visible, sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think it may be in your site. Please log in again and just check. Okay. All right. So what are the cautions that one has to be prepared for? One of the main caution is that the database coverage, how you are getting your database. Okay. Uh, it should be from reliable source. When we talk about the academic database, one of the most reliable is in terms of those which are recognized or are accepted by most of the academia, which is Scopus, Web of Science. Google Scholar, I would not give that much of importance. Okay. Uh, there is another source called Dimension. Uh, so I'll be showing you some of these. Okay. So they will give you these database coverage. Okay. Then again, citations and endorsement. As I've said earlier, these citations could be a critical citation or it may be a self-serving citation. So for example, I may be citing my own paper, which may be in the form of some kind of an ethical issues. Okay, so you have to look into these aspects also. Then again, look into the aspects of field and language bias. Okay, some of the publishers, their what you call norms are very much. It differs from place to place in terms of discipline, in terms of region, in terms of language. So those aspects also needs to look into. Okay, then the fourth thing is the clustering sensitivity. The clustering is done on the basis of your own algorithm, the kind of algorithm that you're using, the resolution that you are using, okay, and the thresholds that you're using. There are certain assumptions that you're putting in. So those assumptions you have to explain why. Okay, so those sensitivity issues needs to be addressed. Okay, and when you have these clusters, there you need to do a qualitative judgment. You're going to bring out the relationship and so on. That's where a lot of interpretation, a lot of qualitative research work needs to be done. Okay, so these are some of the cautions that you have to take care of while doing the mapping of these knowledge structures. Okay, I'll come back to the key. So one of the things that is very much required is so one of the first thing that you need to do is to download this voice viewer. So how do we download this voice viewer? So you just type in out here voice viewer. Okay, voice viewer download. Okay, even you just type in voice viewer also will do. Okay, so when you do this, you'll get the first link called voice viewer out here, and when you click into this, you'll get your voice viewer. Okay, so this is voice viewer, which is developed by Leiden University, and it is for free. You don't have to pay any money for this. Okay, and there are 3 types of voice viewers available out here. The first one is voice viewer 1.6.21 for Microsoft Windows system. This is for Windows system. Most of us are using Windows system. So when you click into this, it will download the software. Okay. Then for those who are using Apple, you can download this, download voice viewer 1.6.21 for Mac OS. Okay. If you click into this, it will give me the download for downloading the particular software. Okay, so anyway, I will not download this. Then those who are using Linux, you have for other systems out here. Okay, this is a JAR format, and once you download it, you can install it by using command prompts or by using the package managers, especially in Linux called the pacman. Okay, so by using this, you can download this. Okay, so I've already downloaded my WAS viewer and I've already installed this. So let me run my WAS viewer. Okay, so I'll search for my program called WAS viewer, and my WAS viewer is here. And when I click into it, the WAS viewer starts. Okay. And when you install WAS viewer for the first time, it may ask you to install JavaScript. If you do not have JavaScript, it may ask you to install JavaScript. You install that also. Okay. So this is the view page of WAS viewer. And this view page, I can divide it into 4 sectors. This is what we call as the action window. And these are the visualizations that you have. The first default is what we call as the network visualization. This gives you a network visualization. Okay. Then you have the second is the overlay visualization. And the third is density visualization. I'll tell you what are these 3 things about. Okay. Then this visualization configuration, you have this window out here. Okay. How big you want the circles to be, what are the fonts that you want to be, and so on. Okay. So it will come out here. And this is another macro view of the visualization out here. It's the overall view, you'll get it out here. Okay. And for the first time, what you can do is you can look into this manual out here. When you click into this manual, it will give you the manual out here. Okay. And this manual is very useful for those who are using for the first time. Okay. You can read this, and whenever you have issues, you can consult this. Okay. So it gives you the various aspects of how the WAS viewer is being used out here. Okay. Now, what is this WAS viewer about? How it was being developed? So as I told you, this was being done by Leiden University. It was developed by Center for Science and Technology Studies of Leiden University. And what are the things that it used? It used some of the libraries which are being given out here. Some of the JavaScripts, Apache, then some of the library APIs. Okay. We don't need to know too much detail about these things, but it gives you about what is this WAS viewer about. Okay. All right. So in order to start this, there are several ways of doing this. One is what we call as create a map. Okay, we start this by looking into this create a map. Okay, there are different ways of doing this. The first one is create a map based on network data. Okay, this one, what you can do is you can use the data which you already have. Okay, but I'll not go into this yet. So in order to get this academic data, what we need to do is we need to look into the academic database. Okay, there are several academic databases which are available. Of course, some of the colleges and universities may not be having this database, but with the UGC's new program nowadays, you can access through a website called Organised. There also that is available. Okay. So let me show you some of the way how we collect our data. Okay. One of the website which is easily available is what we call as, where you have data of Scopus, is what we call as Dimension AI. Okay. If you go into Dimension AI, you'll get a link called Dimension AI. Okay. Click into this. Okay, and you register out there and you log in. Okay, I already have logged into this website, and you have data which is available out here. Okay. One of the advantages of this is that it gives you Web of Science as well as Scopus out here. Okay. Web of Science and Scopus, although it's not given directly, Web of Science and Scopus is not given directly, but it is given in the form of what, when you look into this site called a journal list, you will find something called UGC Journal List Group 2, okay, and UGC Journal List Group 1. So you can use these two to select or you collect your data. Okay. Right. Now, in order to collect my data, one of the things that is very much required is what we call as the keyword search. Okay. What is a keyword search? In order to do a keyword search, you have to create a Boolean logic. Okay. Boolean logic is the logic that you create and try to narrow down the search. Okay. So for example, I'm very much interested in I don't think you can see this very well, so let me do a blank. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I'm very much interested in, suppose the area that I'm searching is how does online learning take place during COVID-19? Okay. So my area of topic search is I'm interested in, say, online learning, okay, and COVID-19, okay, COVID-19. Now, when I talk about online learning has several terms, and these terms are being added out here, okay. So, one is online learning is generally known as e-learning. Sometimes it is written as without a dash. Okay. So that's why I said e-learning, or then without a dash, e-learning, or sometimes it is also known as hybrid learning. Okay. Sometimes it is known as blended learning. Okay. Sometimes known as virtual learning, or sometimes it's known as distance learning, although it may not be exactly the same as e-learning. Sometimes it is known as open and distance learning. Sometimes a keyword is being used as ODL, open and distance learning. Okay, so these are one aspect of my online learning. Okay, so this is the terminology that I'm interested in. Okay, and the second I'm interested in is in COVID or pandemic or corona. Okay, so these are the three areas that I'm very much interested in, but it is not the same as influenza. Okay, so this is satisfying that, this is identifying that this is not to be included. Okay, so this is my Boolean logic. Okay, by using this Boolean logic, when I go into my dimension, is my dimension data. Yeah, when I go into my dimension data out here and paste it out here and do a full data search. Okay, when you press enter, it searches out there. Okay, and what are the things that I'm getting? I'm getting about how many records? I'm getting 1,389 publications. Okay. Now this 1,839 publications is coming out from areas like 35 from commerce management, tourism, and so on, 45 from information and computer science, 3,507 from strategic management, organization behavior, and so on, 50 from philosophy and religious studies, and so on, educations, and so on. Okay. And you have a structure of this data out here. You see, all this information was not, there's a graph being given out here. Okay. From 2017 onward, there was not much of studies. COVID happened in 2019. So most of these things went up. Okay. Then after 2023 onward, it has gone down. Okay. So this is the kind of knowledge that this is the kind of structure you're getting, but this is not 100% correct right now. I want to look into things like the publication year. If you want to give a kind of a segregation, you can give a publication year. So I'm interested from 2019 onwards till now. You can do a sorting like that also. Okay. So I'll not touch this. Then in terms of researcher, okay, like in terms of the name of the researcher, you can go into that also. But I'm more interested in the research categories. Okay. So what are the fields of research that I'm interested in? Okay, so here also, if you want, you want to stick into the commerce management and tourism or information technology, here also you can do some of the selections. Okay, but again, I'll not go by this, but I'll go by the publication types. Okay, now if you look into this publication type, I'm interested in research articles only. I don't want book chapters. I don't want edited books. I don't want proceedings of seminars, monographs, preprints, and so on. So I'll select only article. Okay, and this I add to the search. And when I do this, you'll see that my publication has come down from 1,200 and something to 335. Okay. Now my database has become, now you can see 39 from education, 40 from engineering, and so on. You have a different numbers altogether out here. Again, the graph is changing out here. Okay. Now, source title. Source title, again, this is in terms of journals. Again, you can do the segregation in terms of you are not interested in science ones and so on. If then you can deselect them or select only those which are relevant to you and so on. But I'll leave it as it is. Okay. Then again, go to the journal list. Remember, I've selected UGC list 1, group 1. And if I want to select more, I have to go into, yeah, UGC group 2 and UGC. I can add groups UGC group 1. So I'll say that they are mostly from UGC related. Okay. So after doing this, again, my publication, the database is coming to 173. Okay. Now, how do I download this data? In order to download this data, you go into save. Okay. Now you have to save this as export results. Okay. When you do export results, you can save in these 3 formats. All these 3 formats are suitable for they are suitable for this WAS viewer. Okay, the first one is called CSV format, that is comma separated values. Okay, it's an Excel file kind of a thing. Okay, where the data is separated by comma. So for example, age, say 30, somebody has written 35, comma, then gender, suppose male, M, comma, and so the data is being recorded like that, okay? So it's comma separated file. And when I do export, it will be available out there, okay? Or I can go into the file format which is suitable for bibliometric mapping, especially for WOS viewer or site space. It has already created a kind of network. So best is you can export for bibliometric mapping by using this WOS viewer. Okay. Or another method is you can do by using the reference manager, which is the BibTeX. Okay, so you can go for BibTeX or RIS. Both formats are also available in this form. Okay, say for example, I'm going to do the bibliometric mapping, and when I say export, okay, it will be available for me in my file. Okay, your export is now being processed and be available in the export center. Where is the export center? You go into the dimensions out here and you find export center out here. And when you do export center out here, I have already downloaded these files. These files are already out here. When you click into download, then the file will be downloaded. You can see the query language, the query that I have put in out here. Okay. And all these files are in the zip format. Okay. And these files are available in one of the links, this is the folder that I have created. So all the dimension publication files are available here. Okay. So this is one format of collecting data. Okay. Now there is another way of doing this by not using this dimension. There is another way of doing this by using something called another program called Publish or Perish. Okay, there's something called Publish or Perish. This is also a program where you can download most of these data, especially the abstract and you will not get a full paper. For dimension, you'll get a full paper, but the abstract and the keywords and all. So go into Publish or Perish, and it will give you one link called harzing.com. Okay, harzing.com, Publish or Perish. So from here, you download this software, and this is also a free software. You can download and installation instructions and all are given out here. Okay, now this is also available out here. Okay, I have already installed this, so let me run this for you. So search for Publish or Perish. So when I've downloaded, it's already running out here. Okay, so this is Publish or Perish. Okay, one of the advantages of doing this is you have this search from where you can search. You can search from cross-reference. You can search for Google Scholar. You can also search from Harzing Academic Research. Then you can go for lens.org. Lens.org is also a popular one. Then OpenAlex. Then you can go for PubMed. You also can go for Scopus. For Scopus, you need something called an API. Okay. Then you can also go for Semantic Scholar. Okay. Now, these are some of the searches that I have done earlier. Okay. Now, let me go for a new search. Okay. Let me go for a new search from Scopus. Okay. Now, this is a new search that I want to do. Here also you have the, if you want to go for a certain author, you can go for an author. In terms of universities, you can go for the affiliations, the publication's name, and so on. Now, I'm using the same keywords out here. Okay. And I want to do a search. And what kind of search that I want to do? I want to do a search. I have selected Scopus out here, the source. So here it is doing a search. Okay. One of the limitation of this is that it gives you a maximum of 200 results. Okay, but again, you can find out from here, say, for example, which paper has been cited most. So this one has a H score of 1952, and per year this is cited about 488 times and so on. Okay, now this result I want to save. So go and save this result. You can save this result as BibTeX. You can save the result as CSV file, that is the comma separated values. You can save it as an EndNode, or you can save it as a JSON or RIS or the ref manager. You can serve the results as an APA reference. You can take the referencing also, or Chicago and so on. Okay, so this is also a very useful, what I call, source where you can get this data. Okay, so now I have already got my data. So let's come back to WAS viewer. Okay, now in order to do the analysis, we go into the create. Okay, and I want to create a map based on bibliographic data. Okay, so I'm going to use bibliographic data, and once you click into this, if you want, you can note down the steps. The first one is that go into create and select the middle one. Okay, now go into next. The next one is you have the choice of selecting this data. You can also download this data through API. Okay, and from where you can download from the sources of OpenLX. We've already talked this earlier, cross-reference. You have something called the PubMed. The PubMed, which this one is from Europe. It's called the Europe PMC. Then you have another database called a Semantic Scholar, OCC, Kokai, and Wikidata, and so on. Okay, so you can download this data from here also. But again, the keyword use out here is limited. Okay, so you cannot use a multiple keyword out here. Like the one that I'm using, 3 terms out there, several terms out there. Okay, since we already got a database, so you take the second one, which is read data from the bibliographic database file. Okay, we select the second one, which is read data from the bibliographic database file. Okay, now you have these Web of Science, Scopus, Dimension, Lens, and PubMed out here. Okay, so select into next, click into next, then you have these files out here. Is it a Web of Science? Is it a Scopus? It is a Dimension. So remember, I have downloaded data from Dimension. Okay, so among these tabs, from wherever you have taken this database, you have to select that particular tab. If I have downloaded from Scopus, you have to select the Scopus. If you have downloaded from Web of Science, you have to select this Web of Science. Okay, now I have selected from Dimension, and where is my data? I'll go into my my folder. Okay, I have kept this in the desktop. So let me go into the desktop. Let me go onto the desktop, and in the desktop, I have created a folder called DTHM Online Workshop. In this, double click on this, and I have my Dimension publication files out here. Okay, so this Dimension publication files, it's called a .csv. This is again a folder. Within that, the Excel file is out here. CSV means comma separated value. Okay, although it may be an Excel file, but it's not XLS LX. Okay, so it's not an but it's a comma separated value. Okay, and this comma separated value file is generally we use it in R also, or in other database reading. Okay, so click into this and click OK. All right, then you go on to the next, and here you have the 4 sectors that I was talking about: co-authorship, citation, bibliographic coupling, co-citation. Okay, and these can be analyzed in terms of units, in terms of authors, in terms of organizations, in terms of countries. Okay, now what are these types of analysis? You want to find out what is this type of analysis? You bring your mouse pointer to this what you call question mark, and it tells you what is this. Co-authorship analysis means like the relativeness of items is determined based on the number of co-author documents. Co-citation analysis means the relativeness of items is determined based on the number of times they cite each other. Okay, so it gives you the explanation of all this. What is full counting and fractional counting? Here also full counting means if you are co-authoring with somebody, it's given as 1. Okay. But fractional counting is again, it's in the form of what we call as the weight of the co-authorship. So if you have 10 co-authorship, then 1 divided by 10 and so on. Okay. So some kind of fraction is given out there. So all this detail again, if you want to look into, you can look into the, what you call that handbook. Okay. Now I want to do a co-authorship analysis of the authors with the full counting. Okay. Maximum number of co-authors per document, the maximum number that can be counted is around 25. Okay. So this is a default one. If you want to reduce, you can reduce this also. Okay. Now go into the next one. And the minimum number of documents of an author. Minimum numbers to be counted as, I mean, you have to do co-authorship at least 2. Okay. Minimum number of citations. Minimum number of citations of an author. It is by default is given as 0. Okay. The number of citations of an author equals to the total number of citations the document of the author has received in dimension. Okay. Now let me make it into 1 or 2, and let's see, is there any threshold change? There is not much of a threshold change. Minimum number of documents of an author. Okay, let me bring it into 1. Minimum number of documents of an author, at least 1. Again, it does not make much sense, so let us put it into 2. So it gives you 5 thresholds. Okay, and minimum number of citations, let's give it to 2. Okay, number of authors to be selected 5. Go into next, and you get this data out here. Okay, now this data, if I want to export, what you can do is you click in any of the cells out here and right click out there, and you can export this and make into a table. So for example, I want to select this, export the selected authors. Okay, now I've selected. So let me give it the authors. Okay, now give a file name. So I'll call it BBB and export. Now this file is being exported in a text file, which I can convert it into an Excel file, then make it into a graph and so on. Okay. Now finish this. Then what it does is that it creates an overlay. Okay. So the co-authorship is not much of a meaningful out here. So it's not giving much message. Okay. So as I said, you can change this out here. You have this several authors out here. Okay. These authors are being linked out here. So it's not giving that much of an information. Okay. So you have this visualization in terms of network. You have visualization in terms of overlay. You have visualization in terms of density. Okay. But this is not giving much of a good information. So I will not be using this co-authorship. So go again into the same, create a map based on Pulamte data, go on to the next one, read the bibliography, same way, read the data from the same dimension. Again, the data is already selected, go into next. Now, I'm not interested in this co-authorship, but I'm more interested into look into the citation. Okay. Now, in terms of citation, let's look into the documents. Okay. Or I can look into the authors who has been cited most. Okay. Or let's look into the documents, which are the papers which are cited most. Okay. Now go on to next. And there are 171 documents which meets the threshold. Minimum number of citation, at least let me put 1. Okay. at least cited once. Go on to next, and you have 138 papers, and these are the author that has been cited. Okay. Now, if I want to make this into a graph, what can I do? So I can again select all the documents, okay, and export the selected documents. So now let me call this as CCC, and let me go up one more, and yeah, and export here and finish this. And I want to see the network visualization. Now here the items are being shown out here. Okay, now this is given mostly my top 4 authors out here. Now if I want to change this graph, I can also change by doing this item analysis out here. It has given only 2 clusters. One cluster is consisting of these 2 items, 2 authors, and cluster 2 is again in terms of these 2 authors. Okay. Now, if I want to change the structure of these, again, what you can do is by going into this clustering, by reducing the content, then I can increase the size of the cluster. So for example, if I say 0.8 out here and update clustering, okay, it's not again making much of difference. 0.6 update clustering. Okay, so again, it's not making much of the difference of the graph. Okay, but again, I've got a data, so I can create another what do you call, yeah, another database. So suppose I create a blank file and I want to bring in data from okay, I can do one thing. I've got this CCC, I've got this data, I'll select this data and paste it in my Excel file. Okay. And the first row is my serial number. Second is the authors. Third is the citation. And fourth is the link. I'm not interested in the link, but I have this document and citation, and I've selected this 171, and I can create a graph out of this. Okay. And I can create a chart somewhat like this and click OK, and you have the citations of the authors. Okay, you can remove this yellow line also. Pareto line. You can remove this. How do you do this? Delete. Okay. Okay, you can tinker around and delete this. Okay, so that what I mean to say is that you can bring in data from this side and take a meaningful, what you call, interpretation out of this. Okay, so again, my co-citation, what you call this documents in terms of citation is not again giving you much of the information. Okay, now let's go into another aspect. Instead of citation, let's go for the sources. Okay, from where it is being sourced. Minimum number of documents for a source required is 3. So again, here 4 meets the threshold. Minimum number of citations, at least give 1 citation. Again, it's not making much of the interpretation. So again, it's not giving much useful. So what are the sources which are, means which journal is most cited? Okay. So again, this gives you the network. Okay. Let me do another one. Okay. Same, I'm using the citation. Let's do a country. Okay. Minimum number of sources, minimum number of countries per document. Let us bring this down to at least 10. Okay. Yeah. Next. 11 meet the threshold. Okay. So you have again Brazil, Italy, China, Germany, and so on. Okay. So this gives you again the country-wise network, right? So you can see again the node size. This will give you the proportion of what is the weight of this COVID-19 and what do you call the e-learning has taken place. Okay, so that kind of information you can get from here. So let me go into another one. Right. Let's go into bibliographic coupling. Okay. Bibliographic coupling and documents. Next, you have minimum number of citation, at least 1. Go on to the next. You have 138. Next, and these are the bibliographic coupling. Okay. Here you will get a bigger network. Okay. So when you look into this network, you have 4 different colors. You have this red, you have a blue, and you have a green, and you have a kind of a greenish yellowish kind of a color. Okay. And the bibliographic coupling of these particular authors, say Al Lilly. So you have the details of this in the window out here. Okay. So what is the title of the journal, title of the paper, what is the source, technology and society, when it was being published. So this must have been cited quite a lot. Okay. And how these authors are being cited by others. So it is being shown out here. Okay. So the network visualization generally gives you about this. Okay. But again, so this size of this level, it gives you the weight of this item, as I've said. Okay. And these lines represents the link with the other authors. Okay. Then you have this overlay visualization. Overlay visualization gives you the kind of trend that has been going on. Okay. Say 2021 is dark green in color, and if you see 2024 is yellowish in color. So if you look into these papers, these are the latest ones. International Journal of Educational Technology and Higher Education. And these are the kind of the emerging trends that you can find out from these. Okay. Although it's not very much out there, but in terms of density visualization gives you in terms of items and clusters. So Al Lilly was very much being what I call cited. You can see that Said also is being cited, Dev Kota to some extent. Okay, so it gives you kind of item wise as well as cluster wise visualization. So but the main thing that we use is this network visualization. Okay. There is one more thing. You can tweak this also. Say, for example, uh, you can change this background into black. Okay. And you can get a picture somewhat like this. Although if you're going to submit for articles and all, it is preferable not to use a black background because it costs a lot of printing in the journal. Okay. But for your presentations and all, you can use this. So, but generally avoid using this. Okay. Now, once you have this, how do you want to change some of these items? Yeah, you want to analyze these items. So altogether, uh, it has identified 6 clusters. I saw only few, but it has identified more. And if you want to analyze these clusters, you can uh, take a screenshot of these clusters and keep it as a record and use it for analysis. Okay. And these clusters will bring about what are the areas these authors are collaborating. Who are these collaborators? You can find out in terms of that. Okay. So then in terms of analysis, you don't like this graph somehow. You can rotate this. Okay. You can rotate this, or you can flip horizontally. Okay. You can do some flipping like this. Okay. So in this way, you can manipulate. Okay. If you're using a mouse, you can scroll up and down, or you can use this zoom in and zoom out. Okay. Zoom out. Okay. Then in order to save this file, you can take screenshot. Okay. And you can take a save or print, or you can copy to the clipboard, and you have some other options also. Okay. So generally the file is being saved in JPG format. Okay. So this is one of the way how it is being done. Okay. Now what we have done is mostly about the authors. How about in terms of the keyword? Generally we have looked into is you have co-authorship, citation, bibliographic coupling, and co-citation, co-cited references, sources, and so on. Okay. So these are mostly related with author. Okay. So in order to do your keyword, you need to create a map based on text data. Okay. Go into next. And here you have to read the data from bibliographic database. I'm going to use the same dimension data. Okay. Go into next. Go into dimension. Okay. Let me check whether it is feasible or not. Dimension. Click OK. Next. Yeah. Here you see title and abstract fields will be used. Title is being used and abstract field is also. You want to use only the title, you can use the title field. If you want to use only the abstract, you can use the abstract. But if you want to use both title and abstract, you can use both out here. So I'm going to use this. Ignore structured abstract label. There might be some information talking about copyrights and so on. You can ignore these statements. Okay. Go into next. And I want a binary counting, whether it's present or not, and so on. Okay. Or full counting is the exact count. Minimum number of occurrences of 10 times. Let me reduce it to a little bit more so that I get more information. So 5 times. Okay. So, and this meets around 116 thresholds. Okay. So number of terms to be selected, I have around 70 terms. Next. So you see here I'm getting several terms out here which are related to online learning and COVID-19 and so on. Okay. Again, I can save this as a Excel file. Okay. Anyway, I won't do that now. and you get a detailed, what I call, network visualization out there. Okay. Now, this is more important in terms of coming out with the themes and so on. How many colors do you see? You see around green out here, a lot of reds out here. Okay. And maybe some other color is also there. Okay. Now, you can see that field literature, review, case, insights. In terms of learning, you see out here a lot of university, online learning, interview, experience, and so on. Okay. Now, in terms of items, how many items I see? There are only 2 clusters, and these clusters have, cluster 1 has several of these things like hand washing, light. Some of them may be related, some of them may not be related. Okay. This again, you can restructure it by using this analysis. Okay. Like, say, for example, the resolution I've used this out here as 0.60. I can use it as 1. And let's update this. And here I get another cluster. Okay. Now, this data can be normalized by using 4 methods. One is no normalization. Second is, by default, is the association. How much is the association between these terms? Then you can do a fractionalization, or you can do a linear log or modularity. Okay. So I'm just using the default mode, which is association. Okay. If you want to change, you can go into the advanced parameters and change these parameters. And once you do that, you do an update layout and it will change. Okay. Now, if I look into the clusters again, now I have 4 clusters. So you have cluster 1, which is red. Then you have green, you have the blue, and you have another kind of lighter green. Okay, so you have 4 clusters out here. Now, how do you interpret these clusters? Again, depends on your qualitative work. Okay, so that's where you have to come out with certain themes from here. You have to come out with certain themes from here. Okay. There are some advanced ways of editing these clusters, but those can be done mostly in R. Okay. WOS viewer has certain limitations on that. Okay. So again, the same view, you can look into the overlay visualization. You can also look into the density visualization. You can also download all these screenshots by using this. Okay. So, and this is how you use your WOS viewer to come out with certain knowledge gap, themes, and so on. Okay. So, this is where I want to end. Yes, of course, I have taken one particular file from RIS also, create map based on text. And if I look into, yes, read data from RIS or RefWorks and so on. Go into next. And if I go into RefWork, let me see, do I have my RefWork data? Is this the one? Let me try. No, this is not the one. Let me try. No, you have to save the file in a RefWork and use that. Okay. Let me try the RIS. Yeah, I have one RIS file. So this one I have downloaded from Harzing. Okay. Let me use this. Click OK. Next. Here is mostly being used in the title field. Next, binary counting again. Let me use it into 5. Next. Okay. So this is from the housing data and it's only from the title, so that's why it's a bit lesser. Okay. So you can tinker around, try in several ways. Okay. All right. So let me take up some questions. Where is my... Yes, Rajesh.
Sir, there is a question in the chat box, sir.
Okay. Where is the... Where is my chat box? Can you just read out the question? Okay, let me, I've found. Yes, Jacob. There is not much of a relation in co-citation and others in visualizing. Can we still export the results and put in our research article? Jacob, you have to do some of the tinkering. I have not done much of the tinkering out there. Okay. Maybe not much of the co-citation is there. But again, how much of the citation is there and the thresholds you have to change a bit. Okay. Then I think more of results will come out in meaningful way. Okay. So today's exercise, it has not come out that much. Okay. Yes.
Participants, please ask questions. If you have any doubt, please.
Yes, any other? Yes, one of the drawbacks about Watch Viewer is that it uses only the abstract and the title and the keywords. Okay, it does not search inside the paper. In order to do that, you have to do text mining by using softwares like R. Okay, then it will be more in detail. Then you will get more results out of that. But again, that requires a lot more. But by doing Watch Viewer itself, you can write a fundamental bibliometric analysis paper. Watch Viewer as well as Excel. Try to use Excel. Yes, Watch Viewer also does not give something called a word count in the key or keyword co-citation and things like that. You can do a word count or the word map by exporting the particular words into an Excel file, then again putting it into you can do a word map from there. That also can be used. Okay. So these are just the fundamental things. Please tinker around and try to exploit as much as you can.
Thank you very much, sir. There is no question, I think.
Yeah.
Michael, please conclude.
Okay, sir. Now the session is coming to an end. I would like to deliver the vote of thanks. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our resource person, Professor L.S. Sharma, for delivering such an informative and insightful session today. Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge and expertise with us. I would also like to thank all the participants for the active engagement and enthusiastic participation throughout the session. Lastly, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the faculty members and research scholars of the Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Mizoram University, for their tireless efforts in organizing and conducting this workshop smoothly. Rajesh, sir, is there anything you would like to add?
Thank you very much, sir. We'll be in touch, sir.
Okay, thank you, Michael, and thank you, Dr. Rajesh,
Thank you, sir.
for giving me this opportunity to share something that I have learned in the process. This is not the end. I think there is still more to be done. Okay, so thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
So I'll sign out. Thank you.
Yes. With that, we will have a short break, and this next session will begin at 1:30 p.m. today. Thank you, and have a good day. You may leave the meeting now.